There's a small grammatical oddity in this week's parsha that is easy to miss in translation, but it raises a much greater question than it first appears to. The Torah has been setting out the laws of lost property. If you come upon your neighbor's ox or sheep straying, you may not turn away, you must bring it back. It repeats the point for the donkey, for the garment, for anything at all that a person may lose and another may find. And then, closing the passage, it does not say what we expect it to say. It does not say, do not hide yourself. It says something stranger. Lo tuchal leitalem. You are not able to hide yourself. Not a prohibition, a statement of impossibility. As though the Torah was describing not what we must not do, but what somehow we cannot. The plain reading is difficult, because of course, looking away is possible. A person can see something and decide that it is not his responsibility, or assume that someone else will take care of it. Turning away is one of the most available things a human being can do. Sometimes we may even have good reason not to get involved. So why does the Torah describe this not as something that we must avoid, but as something that somehow is beyond our power to do? But the commentators noticed a second difficulty, pressing on the first. 3 verses earlier, the law opens with a curious passage. You shall not see your brother's ox straying and hide yourself from them. The sages read a permission in its very grammar. The absence of not, where we should expect one, Rashi teaches, hints that there are times when you may hide yourself. The case, for instance, is an elder for whom chasing a stray donkey through the streets may be beneath his dignity. So the law that begins by conceding that looking away is sometimes allowed, ends by declaring that you cannot look away at all. It grants an exemption, and then 3 verses on, appears to take it back. So which is it? Rabbi Rav Hirsch, reading the closing phrase with great care, draws out exactly what is strange in it. The Torah could have written lo titalem, a flat do not hide. Instead, it wrote lo tuchal leitalem. The difference, he says, is everything. It does not mean the deed is forbidden. It means it is not within your power to exempt yourself. You cannot release yourself. You cannot dispense yourself. You cannot hand the obligation back. And on the opening phrase, he is subtler still. The Torah forbids not seeing, but a particular way of seeing. You may not look at your neighbor's loss with a making yourself not see it look. We may not train our eyes to slide over it, as though it was not there and did not concern you. What is prohibited is not the failure to notice. It is a practice of noticing and arranging not to have noticed. The look that has already seen and is busy unseeing is those things the Torah reaches in to forbid. Put the two halves together, and the apparent contradiction dissolves into something deeper. The exemptions are real. The law bends around a person's dignity, around genuine incapacity, around the limits of what one human being can carry. What it will not permit is a maneuver by which we grant ourselves an exemption we were not given. The quiet inner motion of deciding, this is not mine to deal with. Someone else would see it. I did not really see. The motion, the Torah says, is not available to you. Lo tuchal. You do not have the authority to file yourself under not my concern. The obligation has your name on it, and you cannot sign it over. The Ramban helps us unpack why the Torah takes such trouble here, tracing the law back to its first appearance in Exodus, where the animal was rescued belongs not to your brother, but to an enemy. The Torah's imagination runs from the hardest case to the plainest. If you must lift the falling beast of a man you cannot stand, how much more the strayed sheep of a brother? The Ramban notices the escalation built into the double verb, hashiv teshivim, you shall surely return, in which the sages heard as meaning even 100 times over. It binds you to your enemy as your brother, and holds until the task is done. The law is engineered against every excuse a person might reach for. That the owner is untrustworthy, that the effort is beneath me, that I tried once and the animal wandered off again. The Torah anticipated each of one of them and closed it. And the Rambam makes the Torah's demand here even more direct. He rules that a person who sees a lost object and leaves it there has not merely passed upon a good deed, he transgressed a negative commandment. You may not hide yourself is counted among the Torah's outright prohibitions, a line one actively crosses. In our ordinary moral arithmetic, there is a vast gap between doing harm and failing to do good, between the hand that pushes and the hand that stays in the pocket. And this one point, the Torah refuses the gap. To stand before your brother's loss and doing nothing is not a blank space in the ledger. It is an entry on the wrong side. It is here that a discovery in modern psychology helps us understand what the Torah was addressing. In 1999, 3 researchers, Mark Sprenka, Elisa Minsk, and psychologist Jonathan Barron, set out to test something most of us have never thought to question: whether we judge a harm done by doing as we judge same harm done by not doing. They gave people carefully matched pairs of stories, identical in intention and in outcome, differing only in whether the harm came about through act or through standing by. The result was consistent, and once seen is unmistakable. People rate the harm caused by inaction as distinctly less blameworthy than identical harm caused by an act. And tellingly, they did so because at some level they did not feel that omission truly causes anything at all. And Barron gave this tendency a name: the omission bias. It is a quiet intuition sitting beneath our moral reflexes that the hand in the pocket is innocent in a way that a striking hand is not. And to let a thing happen is not quite to do it. That when we walk past, I have not really acted, and so cannot really be at fault. It is this precise inner maneuver in which to grant ourselves the exemption which we'll never give it. And it is this very intuition the Rambam's ruling was built to overturn. Our legal traditions have built the same intuition into law itself. Under English and American common law, there is famously no general duty to rescue. The stock example handed to every first-year student is chilling in its clarity. A man may stand in a dock, smoke a cigarette, watch a stranger drown a few feet away, and he has broken no law, so long as he did not push him in. The doctrine rests exactly on the distinction psychologists uncovered between doing and not doing, the harm you cause and the harm you merely permit. Only now raised from a reflex of the mind into principle of the law, and reinforced by a fierce regard for individual liberty that recoils from compelling a person to act. Only a handful of jurisdictions have ever legislated otherwise. The law of the liberal West, for the most part, grants precisely the exemptions the Torah withholds. It is telling the man at the dock he is free to pass by. This is the distinction that the little law lays bare. There is a bystander and there is a brother. The bystander enjoys the innocence of the one who merely stood there. He did nothing, caused nothing, and so he assures himself he owes nothing. What he sees is a problem, an incident, a stranger's misfortune, a situation that will surely sort itself out without him. The brother has no such refuge, because what lies before him is not an anonymous fact in the world, but something belonging to a person with a face and with a claim. And the Torah has fastened it by name upon him. The uniqueness of the phrasing, it does not say one must return lost property in a passive voice of general principle, which each of us hears as addressed to everyone and therefore to no one. It says you shall not see your brother's ox, you cannot hide yourself. And in that one word, the whole architecture of omission bias quietly collapses, because the Torah refuses to let turning away pass as doing nothing. It names standing by as an act, and the lost thing as your brothers, and the finder as you, and a harm that has a doer, a victim, a name, can no longer take shelter in the innocence of omission. This is the world the sages called arvut. Kol Israel ravim ze lazeh. Each of Israel is responsible for one another. A world in which no one's loss is wholly another's to ignore. We know, of course, that no one can answer every need. Our parsha's own exemptions concede as much, and in an age that shows us 1,000 catastrophes before breakfast would crush us if it did not. But that is not what the law asks. It does not command us to repair the entire world at once. It asks a narrower and harder thing, that of what actually crosses our path, the loss we have in fact seen, and the brother whose trouble is in fact before us, we do not perform that small inner act of persuading ourselves that we do not see it. That escape, lo tuchal להתעלם, you cannot hide yourself. That is why the command comes dressed as impossibility rather than a prohibition. The Torah is describing the person it means to make us, one for whom looking away has genuinely ceased to be an option, not because a law forbids it, but because the seeing and the caring has become a single motion of our soul. But a law that says you cannot is teaching us slowly, act by act, stray sheep by falling donkey, that the world is mended by those who have lost the ability to pass by. And this is a loss worth acquiring, until there's a little less turning away, a little more light on every road we walk. We heal the fractured world. Shabbat Shalom.